Chamber of Commerce and Industry. I'm Nirja Mehta, your moderator for today's session. I am an HR professional with over 10 years of experience in talent management. Today, we'll be discussing a very important and contemporary topic, which is breaking the glass barrier or breaking the invisible barrier that women face for C-suite or board seats. If we look at the global data that is available, there are only 15 to 16% of women at leadership roles. And if we talk about India, India ranks fifth lowest in women at leadership roles. In today's discussion, we'll be covering A, what are the challenges that women face? B, the women who have succeeded in breaking the glass ceiling, what attributes do they have? So let me introduce you to our speaker for today's session, Subhasini Ramaswamy. She is CEO of RareMinds. Let me just welcome her. Hi, Subhasini.
Hey,
welcome
hi.
to the session. Hi. Subhasini, you are a well-known personality, but still I would appreciate if you could just take us through your journey.
Yeah, sure. Before that, I just want to share something. Some time back, I was at Noida at a recruitment drive, and this was years ago. And as that drive was coming to an end, it was a recruitment drive, right? So we were asking a lot of the candidates to leave because the drive was coming to an end. And suddenly, a candidate took out a knife from his pocket out of frustration, right? Um, I'm sure he didn't mean any harm, but in 45 minutes of that incident, I knew the value of my name and the skill that I have, which is the ability to learn and speak more than 10 languages. True to that, my name, I have to thank my grandmother for choosing that name for me and my mother for instilling it. Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Subhasini Rakesh Ramaswamy, born in Tirunelveli, a small place in South India. I grew up in Sharjah, UAE, of course, now living in Bangalore. I think somewhere during this entire span of what I've been doing, I managed to complete my degree, then got a master's, got married to an Andhra family, and of course, totally influenced by cultures, pan India and international, considering the amount of time that I've spent in different locations. My first job, it was in 1995, and I started as a receptionist. Then moved on to becoming a trainer, and then continued as a software developer. Moved on to program management and transitioned into human resources, and finally had roles in consulting. And the last corporate role that was performed was that of a VP HR in an MNC. Today, I'm the founder of RareMinds, Green Minds, and Growth Souls, three different diversified verticals, all three extremely, special to me. I've completed my doctorate in education, and therefore I'm now addressed as Dr. Subhasini Ramaswamy, and have empowered more than 75,000 individuals, and we continue to do so. So that's been a really filled with excitement all through. Back to you, Nirja.
Yeah. I mean, it's an inspirational story. You have had a various kind of exposure, starting from a receptionist to what you have done so far. It's an inspirational story.
Yes.
Subhashini, from you, I would like to know, being a woman, do you think it's tougher or a disadvantage to be at leadership position?
It's a good question, and I think a most needed one from today's viewpoint. See, to me, gender does not really factor in whether or not a person can be a great leader. A person's leadership abilities should depend on their individual strengths and personality traits. There are many studies, I mean, no doubt about it. It reveals that in most of the countries, wherever the studies have been done, there are significant prejudices against women, and that we have a long way to go until equality is the social norm. I mean, having said that, on one side, there are studies that also show that women tend to perform equally well as men on the hard skills, like planning, judgment, decision making. And in soft skills, women tend to outperform men in both leadership and interaction. At the same time, excelling in the areas of coaching others, facilitating change, and building trusting relationships. And that's what makes a big difference. So definitely, the roles don't really look at whether the gender is male or female. While India has made progress in appointing females to board positions, women are there. This hasn't been matched by the number of women in senior management positions. So there is a level there, and then of course the level below we really don't see most of the women. Women in India, of course, you see them managing small teams, which is a great area of progress. However, the gap exists when you don't move there and then you need to reach to the next level. In fact, the number of senior positions held by women has fallen, dropping from like somewhere about 7.8% way back in 2014 to 7.2% in 2016. And today we're talking about a global average about 13.8%. And why is that? I mean, it's something for us to sort of think through, right? So many women actually quit or drop out midway through their careers, and probably to take up responsibilities at home, or would have had certain other hardships. I think I myself would have taken 2 sabbaticals for various reasons. And I have gone through what it takes for an individual. And let me point this out. And this does not have to be, again, a sabbatical just for a woman. The sabbatical could have equally today been taken by a man. It is
Yes.
extremely important for the person who's been in sabbatical, to come back in a certain level of confidence, for which a lot of programs are available today. I'm sure even our audience and you are aware that the number of programs and that every MNC is trying to bring in from a diversity angle, the kind of encouragement that they are giving, I think it is numerous, and we do have all of that. In fact, I would say they're not so open to men, so we do have better platforms that's being made available. The question at the end is, are you ready for it?
Yeah, there, like you said, that women go for sabbatical. There are only few examples like, Sheryl Sandberg, or who's the CEO of Facebook, or, Marisa Mayer, who's ex-CEO.
I think we've lost Nirja for a bit, but I think I can try and come to the point where she was trying to address about the number of people.
Bad internet connection at my front. Really sorry for that. So I was talking about these two women were offered these position while they were pregnant. But
Right.
generally, women either go for a sabbatical, or they stick to the position that they were holding. They're holding. They don't want to move up in the ladder because they know if they will do so, the amount of work will increase and there'll be more pressure on them. So that's very few ladies who are actually doing that. And in addition to what you said, biasness and the gender equality, if we look at the data, the success and likability correlation is positive for men, whereas this correlation is negative for women. There is a famous Harvard Business School study on case study of Royce, Heidi Royce, where the two groups were given the same success story of this female. With one group, the name was changed from female to male, and it was seen that both the group felt that these two personalities are equally confident and competent. But when they were given an option to work with the group with the female name, didn't pick for the female. They didn't want to work with the female. And these are actually uh, Harvard graduates. So you can understand the kind of unconscious biasness that, even in the group there were male and female both. So that's the kind of challenge that we are having, not at just India front, but it's a global front that we're dealing with. So what you said, I totally agree that now things are changing. Women are taking up roles, and women are trying to break the taboo that they'll be the only one who will be staying at home. There are instances of house husband that's coming up. So
Right.
that's also um, okay. Let me move to our next question, which is for the women who have actually taken a sabbatical and for various reason, and now they want to plan their second inning. What advice would you like to give to them so that they can come back and have their career again?
It's a lovely question, Nirja. Let me not throw my decision on people out there, but I think this is a decision that people need to make, considering their own lives and the society that they live in, and what is it that they really want for themselves. Honestly speaking, today, if you look at around you, there are different generations that's running together here. The millennials, which is I think the new millennials is what I should define them, because they really don't work because you have to work, because their parents are very supportive and they actually ask you not to work if it's a very difficult moment, or they do not advise moving out. They would prefer if the child actually works somewhere nearby, right? This is one generation that we're talking about. And then there is uh, there is my generation, wherein when my first daughter came home, I went back to work in 12 days after delivery, and that was my choice. Whether you want to run the race, and it's not a rat race that I'm referring to, right? Whether you want to really go and chase behind something, is it something that you really want to do? Is it your choice? Do you choose it? Or are you doing it because that's what everybody says you need to do? It is absolutely okay if you want to stay back at home and just nurture love in the family, right? Or do you want to throw in a lot of, additional focused love across into the corporate sector? So whether you do management at home or you do it in office, the choice is yours. Which maddening moment do you want to go through day in and day out is actually your choice. Do you really want to feel pressured because of the company's scenario to come back early, or I'm going to lose out on the opportunities? I think the most beautiful opportunity at that time for the mother would have been the child coming home, and I think it's really defying the whole purpose of saying that should we should a mother have to choose between a child and the home and then work? If and I'll just take an example from my own self. I was married in I guess 2004, and I was not running a race, but I was excited in what I was doing. Let me put it this way. I was really, really excited. I was working 16 hours and I loved the adrenaline. And so was my husband, right? Now we're both working crazy. We would have hardly seen each other during this time. And that time the airports were closer to my home, so I would probably be calling him 15 minutes just before I was about to leave. I would call him from the airport and say, hey, I'll see you next week because I'm heading out here, and he was equally traveling. Now this was something we loved. We enjoyed it, we wanted it. It was not a race. And at that time, having a child would have seemed, it didn't seem the right thing to do for me because I wasn't going to be there, right? And when I was ready, I was ready. I was ready to give up my job, which is what I did. When my second daughter came home, I gave up my VP role. And I was just wanting to be with her, for her, and do the right thing. So you can break ceilings no matter what, but you have to choose because that's what you want to do. it's really not about the pressure that the society puts on you, the pressure to get married, the pressure to have kids, the pressure to have a great designation, the pressure to just grow up in the ladder. Have you got your promotions? Can you announce that in your Diwali parties? This is not about that. This is lot more. This is about saying that yes, I was at home with a baby, but I can break ceilings even there. I can just I can just do better than what I am today, and it's not about comparing oneself with another person. So the decision here is on that individual. What is it that you really want? We really cannot talk about that phrase wherein I want the cake and eat it too. I want to look at it and I want to eat it. Yeah, well, look at the job and have the baby, or look at the baby and have the job. So it's got to be that way. We got to be really realistic about where we want to put our focus on.
I totally agree with you. It's actually the choice of women to decide whether they want to have a career or not.
There's a lot of currently there is this trend, a senior position on a recognizable career path to the top seems to be the most necessary than a woman having her first child, and it's sort of accepted that way. And then the woman starts thinking, what age should women be considered for serious careers? Can we leave it until they're at 30s? What about nurturing of the young children? Should we leave that behind? I mean, women are capable of establishing themselves in any career when they choose to do it. So, like I said, it's a complete choice of an individual, which you or I would not really be the right person to, decide for.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I'm extremely sorry once again for a bad internet connection.
No, no,
Okay,
no worries. We're
so
doing
I could
fine.
hear what you said. I was able to hear you. It's just the, picture wasn't clear. So I totally agree with you that it's the decision that a woman has to make whether she wants to give time to the family or she wants to focus on her career. It absolutely should be her decision, and nothing is right and wrong. I totally agree on what you said. Subhashini, my next question to you would be for the young girls who are actually starting their career. Um, what do you think, would be the best thing for them to do? What suggestion actually would you like to give to them?
I mean, there's so many suggestions, but let me share another story, right? So this is a life moment. I can share at least two more life moments if time permits. Let's look at it. So I'm the only woman in the boardroom. This is what this entire conversation is about, right? So for all the youngsters who are looking there, I've never really noticed gender in any place. I mean, I've really not bothered about it until it was pointed out to me. So
Mhm.
I think this is again about 10, 12 years back when it was my first board meeting. And I am there representing companies' HR. Uh, and the fact is we have statistics that where you are in the minority, growing your influence and power takes time. I
Yeah,
enter this room. Yeah, I enter this room and there are like 8 men, all white hair, and I'm the first young woman who enters that room, and I realize that I have a challenge in hand, because you can read from looks and you can understand, you can identify where these kind of problems exist. But the reality is here, once they realize that you are competent and you are there as equal as them, which of course, like I said, the influence and power takes time. But once that's done and they know that you're competent, they settle down and then they become supportive, and then the inclusiveness comes in. I definitely, I was quite lucky that way, because I reported to the CEO. He was a super gentleman who was extremely inclusive, and he backed, and of course, and I was backed by a team of women who supported me to move into that leadership with confidence. And that's my own team. So what I'm saying here is there are three factors. One is competence, second is confidence, and third is collaboration. Build all of them, irrespective of the gender. I think you've cracked it. Of course, and you have to give it the time. I mean, that goes without saying. And if this is one example, if I go 20 years back, there is this moment when I was waiting for my performance review like any good employee. And my boss joins me in the meeting room and he says, "You intimidate me." I and I was a little surprised. I was quite taken back because only a few, during that quarter, I just got a few awards. They had added additional responsibilities in the year, and I finally got a rating of 3 and that statement to take home. So you find situations. There wasn't much that I could do at that time because I had to move out of town. I was joining my husband in Chicago back then. That was my first sabbatical, and it was fine because, see, I am a pragmatic person in many aspects. I always choose to look at things from the standpoint of, okay, this is how our lives are, and then we have to keep pace with it. So rather than, a more pessimistic view wherein you believe that life only throws at you obstacles and, challenges, you have to work it and deal with life in that way, this is a lot better because then you can sort of manage your own life and you're not regretting things. You have understood what's the best you can do, how you can manage your current moment, and then you can choose to decide what you want to do. I mean, moving with my husband was my choice. Between working under a manager who was intimidated and versus spending a few years in Chicago, I think I was quite happy to spend a few years in Chicago, and maybe probably I did quite a bit of learning and work as well. So that came after, right? So that's the pragmatic personality that I was talking about. And the fact is, individuals can tackle the problem by learning it, raising their concerns and taking responsibility for their own development. If you want to continue, of course, I chose to move out at that point of time. But if you do want to continue, I think you have to raise your voice. And I think some of the concerns that I see today are like some women try to be like men, which is like a disparity here. Because I mean, I think we women, we should be proud to be women and totally authentic in their leadership approach is what we should look at. um, Keep empowering oneself and then empower the next person that you see, another lady. For example, if I had gone back, to the boardroom, if my team, who were filled with women, did not back me in that board meeting, I could have had a lot to lose. And it was really important that nobody's pulling you down. We do know that in the corporate today, a lot of pull down does happen, and that's something to be cautious of. Because I think we definitely need to create the environment for us to be successful. Because success is not partial to men. Let's agree to that, because it doesn't know that that okay, you're a woman, so I can't come to you. So it's about us. And we do know instances wherein women at times are their worst enemies by taking
As
a
a
back seat
women,
at times. You second out
sometimes
your colleagues.
we don't. Hi, yeah,
Yeah, they don't believe in
yeah,
themselves and their counterparts don't support
absolutely.
them.
What I feel that right, they don't negotiate for themselves. So and what happens most of the time, we give external factors the credit of our success rather than giving it, to ourselves. If we talk to any man, you would say that, oh, you were successful. How come? He would simply say, I'm awesome. But when you talk to a female, she will give credit to a lot of men. So that's something that needs to be changed. And one more thing that I feel that women lacks is, they generally leave before leaving. So even if they are planning for a sabbatical, it's just there in their mind, but their approach will totally change towards the work. So that I think something that if being a woman we can work on would be really nice.
Yeah. So the self-confidence needs to come in first, and that
It,
comes in only when
right.
you are continuously, working on within yourself. It's first from the within and then from the outside that we look at.
Right.
Otherwise, come on, realistically, we've got, the new trendsetters like Harshini Kanhekar, who's the first woman firefighter, and then there's this other lady, Sunita Kamble. She's a goat doctor in Maharashtra. I mean, somebody who's fought for this, imagine, only to make sure that all the livestock in her community are being saved. It's like a step up. You got to be able to recognize, where this is, where is the need, and then you should be able to involve passionately so much that that's all that's important. And then you're not thinking about who said what and who's doing what.
Absolutely. I totally agree with what you're saying. Women are breaking these days, breaking a lot of cliches. We are moving towards, you know, up in the ladder. And I'm sure in coming years, there'll be a lot of change. There'll be change in the mindset. And, the instance that you just discussed, wherein you went into like this, there'll be more, stories around women, majority of women sitting in the board meeting. I just wish that they come soon. Um,
I
it
think we had
was
some
a
questions that
really,
popped up.
and
It
yeah,
just came for a few seconds, a question. Right. How to convey your keenness with seniors without intimidating them and going up the ladder. So this is a good question, but it's a tricky thing. It doesn't happen overnight. Let's be realistic. Every opportunity that you get, you need to be able to find a balance in the corporate world. You have to be able to participate, and the best way to do this is if you pull along with a team. You need to already have created people around you in the office, wherein they understand, they trust you, or they know that you are here for doing the right thing. And if that's the kind of team you have, then you will get your backing that you need when you are going to try and get into the next promotion. I hope that sort of answers your question. It's a time consuming process. My only concern in this generation is, will you be staying there if you're a fresher, or if you're like, say, about 2 years experience? Will you be there in that company for that long to experience and to be able to showcase your skills? Or if you will be moving in less than 6 months, then how do people get to know you? There was another question, but could not. Yeah. Sure. So I think this "Don't Leave Till
yeah,
You Leave." I think there's been a lot of books, lot of shows, lot of talks about it. When the two times I chose to take a sabbatical, I only chose to leave from that role, from that position that the company had. For me, it was never a question of, when I'm moving to Chicago, what am I going to do? No, I was already planning 1,000 things that I wanted to do, which is probably more interesting, and not really give up on my life because I'm going to move out of a position. You move jobs, and it's okay. And this is for people who lost jobs during COVID, or you have been laid off because the company decided to have a different strategy. Whatever reason you have a sabbatical, reality, I mean, that's a part of life. It's not life by itself. So it's okay. We'll figure out a way to manage that, but you don't give up on yourself. You know that, ठीक है, ये नहीं तो कुछ और ही सही, हम कुछ ना कुछ तो करके दिखाएंगे. So that's the kind of attitude you go out with
right.
in life. I totally agree, Nalin.
Absolutely.
30 minutes may be a little too less for this topic,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we're just trying to give as much as info as possible in this short time. I let WICCI take that decision. Happy to be on board again if another follow on session is required. Thank you. Countries with women heads of state have fared well in COVID crisis. Three women won the Nobel Prize 2020. India had the longest serving women PM in the world. More women are making it to the armed forces. This Lok Sabha has 14% women representation. Salute to the women power. Absolutely. Kudos to everyone who has made it to a recognizable moment, and for all those who have been recognized by themselves within their family, outside their own networks. Anything and everything is equally valued. So stay strong, make a path for yourself, take people along with you, and I'm sure you'll rock. Yeah, thank you, Dimple. I can see a lot of messages. Nirja's back. Thank you, Anita.
Yeah, I see a lot of comments from
Yeah.
our audiences, and really appreciate that they have taken up time and listened to us. It was an amazing discussion, and I see a lot of good comments, which shows that from men specifically, I must say, that they are listening to our session, and which is actually, I think, a shift in the mindset. They really want to support women for breaking this barrier and move ahead in the career. I would like to thank you a lot for joining us, taking out time from your busy schedule and joining us. And a big thank you for Wiki for organizing such an amazing session on such an important topic, which is actually need of the hour. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you to all my followers and my friends who have joined. Thanks for being there. Bye bye.